Hey guys, what's up? Welcome to another episode of Popcorn Culture. I'm Khai.
I'm Zat.
Zat, why do we have comic books in front of us today?
Well, last episode we talked a lot about films, but we haven't even touched on comic books.
Or TV shows for that matter.
And this week has been a big week for both comics and TV shows.
Right, that's because in the Arrowverse, which is the CWT superhero series of TV shows, which include Arrow, Flash, Legends of Tomorrow,
Supergirl,
and
Batwoman.
Batwoman, that's
Yeah,
5
Batwoman.
shows now. They're undergoing their annual crossover, which is called Crisis. Now, Zat, we both know Crisis is huge in the comics.
It's a huge deal for DC Comics. Well, we can go on a whole episode talking about the
We
significance
can, yeah.
of Crisis on Infinite Earths to DC's publications. But for this week, we'll be talking specifically about Crisis on Infinite Earths crossover in the DC Arrowverse.
Yeah, and we're going to talk about the build-up towards the crossover, how we feel about it, whether or not it borrows mythology. Ooh, no judgment yet!
I'm holding my breath.
Whether it borrows anything from the comic book. So there's a bunch of stuff to talk about, but as comic book fans, we know that there's 2 big questions that have been around since the dawn of man, essentially. The first one is, which came first, the chicken or the egg? And the second one is, are you a Marvel or a DC fan?
Well, Kai, you know me very, very well.
I do.
For the audiences back at home who don't know, I'm a huge DC fan.
Yes.
And Kai, what about you?
I'm also a huge DC fan.
I mean, I'm not saying that Marvel doesn't have its strengths. I do love certain comic books from Marvel.
Certain writers
as well. Certain artists, certain specific heroes that I gravitate towards.
And there's no denying that the Marvel Cinematic Universe established the blueprint for successful intellectual property-based box office success.
The less is said about the DCEU, the better. For this week, we're doing an episode on the DCTV.
Which I think has been the more successful media.
Yeah, it has been. It has been.
So, okay, why do you like DC?
Well, I think it's just the mythology behind DC.
The characters.
The history.
The
history. I mean, a lot of people always debate about, which comic book characters are better.
Yeah.
But DC were there first.
They absolutely were.
Action Comics #1 was a huge hit back in the day in 1938 when it came out.
That was the first issue that had Superman. So DC has always had a bigger history. And what was the book that you read and it made you go, I love DC Comics? What was the book?
It has to be one of the Batman comics.
Really?
It was. Wow. I mean, like growing up, I did not read comics first.
Yeah.
The first thing I saw, the first exposure I had to Batman was the movies.
And the animated series.
And the animated series, like Batman by Tim Burton in 1989. That was the first movie I saw.
That is actually my brother's all-time favorite Batman movie.
Really? But we'll talk about favorite Batman.
Another episode, maybe.
Another episode, maybe.
We should do like B-rolls.
But it's the characters. It's not just Batman. Batman is one of my favorite characters, but there were other DC characters that had this whole mythology behind them that was grander in spectacle.
And it was a result of, I think personally for me, because Marvel only got its start, I want to say 62, Kirby and Stan Lee. But with DC Comics, they already had about 20 odd years ahead of writers adding to the stories. And I think that really helps. Personally for me, the book that I read and made me go, I love DC Comics, is actually on this table right now.
Really?
Yeah, we'll touch about it later. I love the sense of history behind the DC characters. Again, we're not saying Marvel doesn't have history. They've got great history.
Yeah.
But I think when I was in 15 and I wanted to kind of try both companies and see which one I gravitate towards, a certain DC title was happening at the time that really handled multiple characters very well.
Okay.
And I felt like I knew nothing about them, but at the same time I felt like I knew them immediately.
I think I can guess.
Yeah.
I can take a gander at which comic book you're referring to.
And then when I was reading the Marvel books at the time, they were going through the golden era of Brian Michael Bendis. Yeah, somebody has very strong opinions of Brian Michael Bendis. They were going through that. It was the Brian Michael Bendis Renaissance, and he was writing a lot of titles. And if I'm being told, they were too steeped in history.
Yeah.
I did not know what was going on. They kept talking about things from the 80s, things from the early 90s. So this was mid-2000s.
Yeah.
And I honestly couldn't understand anything because I've never read the 80s stuff at that point.
Yeah.
But with DC, it would be a very smart throwaway line, or they would recreate a panel from the 80s. And you would actually kind of grasp the story. So yeah, DC fan as well.
Huge DC nerds.
Absolutely love DC. But we do occasionally love the very good Marvel arc, like Frank Miller's Daredevil.
Oh, dude, Frank Miller is my favorite comic book character over Batman.
You said Frank Miller is your favorite comic book character. He just... No, you mean Daredevil is your favorite
Sorry.
Yeah.
Daredevil. I was blanking. But yes,
Yeah.
Daredevil is my favorite comic book character.
I loved Jason Aaron's Ghost Rider.
Ooh.
That was a very good run.
That's a good run.
Ghost Rider is one of my favorite characters.
I love... the name is blanking me right now. Who wrote Spider-Man for the longest time?
Dan Slott.
Dan Slott. Thank you.
Dan
Thank
Slott
you.
was
Which I had
Spider-Man.
the privilege of meeting.
So there's some really good Marvel stuff out there,
Yeah.
but when we say we're comic book fans, we're DC fans, and we can come from a place of saying this is what happened in the comics, this is not what happened in the comics.
Yeah.
All right, so that concludes this little, what fans are we? And so this is a bit of a left field question that I wanted to ask you, and he has no idea I'm about to ask this.
I'm nervous.
You're in a plane. I love this scenario. You're in a plane. Your entire comic book collection is there with you.
Mm-hmm.
You have enough space in your hand for a single book and your parachute. What book do you take with you?
It's just either DC or Marvel.
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
No, it doesn't matter. You can only take one book, your favorite comic book of all time.
That's easy.
What is it?
Daredevil Born Again by Frank Miller.
Wow, that is pretty... That I'm really surprised.
Daredevil Born Again. It's my favorite comic book of all time.
I'm really surprised. Wow, I'm mind blown right now.
I know I said that I love DC Comics over Marvel.
Yeah, but that one particular story.
Daredevil, to me, he's just a unique comic book character.
He really is. He's actually one of my top 3 Marvel characters of all time.
Really?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. It's Ghost Rider at number 1, Daredevil at number 2, Punisher at number 3.
I did not expect that.
Yeah, I know you didn't. That's why this was the left field part of the discussion. Wow. Yeah, so no, Ghost Rider is my favorite Marvel character of all time.
Coming back to Daredevil Born Again, I mean, before Frank Miller touched on Batman Year One, which is one of the best Batman comic books of all time.
It's his best work.
He made
The
his
Dark
name.
Knight Returns isn't that good.
No, it's
Batman
not.
Year One is where it's at.
The best Batman comic.
We'll do a Batman episode. It is the 80 years of Batman this year.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, so we'll do a Batman episode. Don't worry.
But before Frank Miller made his name in writing Batman Year One, he solidified his status as an amazing comic book writer with his run on Daredevil.
Yeah, it was a 6-issue miniseries.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah,
and Born Again was just took my breath away. I don't know how to describe.
Okay, I've never finished that one.
Really?
So I'm still trying to get into Marvel proper. So I do want to read Frank Miller's Daredevil, Bendis' run, Brubaker's run, and Mark Waid's run. These are the 4 runs that I want to finish.
I mean, we can do a whole Daredevil episode, but this week we're focusing
on this. For me, if I had to take one book and jump off, Watchmen.
Ooh,
it's
Watchmen.
My favorite book of all time.
It's one of the best.
Yeah, it's not just for me. It's not just I don't look at it as a comic book. They go, what's your favorite book? Watchmen.
It's literature. People have studied this.
They've studied this book left, right,
academically.
Yeah,
they made theses.
We will do a Watchmen episode.
Before the year is out, we will do a Watchmen episode.
All right, so
blow your minds away, guys.
We're going to be talking about Crisis. We're going to be talking about the different types of Crisis because there's been more than one, and we are also going to be talking about the CW Crisis crossover and how we feel about that in general, the build up towards it, and everything. Yeah. So, what was the first time you read Crisis? Because this is one of, if not the most favored crossover event in comic book history.
Yeah.
Like, the only thing I can think of that could rival this in terms of legacy, in terms of importance, would probably be Secret Wars from Marvel. It got us the Black Suit Spider-Man, Secret Wars issue 8.
Yeah. That was
Crisis. So a bit of history about Crisis. DC never had a continuity. They had multiple continuities.
It was
a mess.
Yeah, it was a huge mess by DC.
Which is fine because you have to keep things exciting and interesting. So the writers in the 50s and 60s started to explore multiple Earths.
Yeah.
And they would put stuff in the beginning of books that say, this is an Earth 3 story. This is an Earth 2 story. And this created this convoluted timeline it just convoluted the space-time continuum at DC. An editorial at the time in the early 80s was like, guys, we need to streamline this. And so the task was given to writer Marv Wolfman and artist George Perez to clean the entire DC universe.
It was a clean slate for DC. They literally...
This was the reboot button.
They tore apart the multiverse within the DC Comics and made a more streamlined
single continuity.
To make it easier for readers to jump into a comic book and say yep, I know where this starts, I know where this will lead to.
Yeah. So in '85, Crisis began to come out. It was a 12-issue series, and it introduced this multiverse, man. Like, you got Earths from the 50s that were forgotten, Earths from the 60s, 70s, and they destroyed everything, and they made a singular timeline, which was known as. So that's why the timeline in DC is called post-crisis.
Yeah, post-crisis.
Post-crisis. So what was the first time? When was the first time you read this comic book?
I remembered it was like in the mid 2000s.
Right.
Because I remember. Obviously, I didn't get the first print.
Yeah,
that is the first print actually. Standing right in front of you.
Oh, first print soft cover.
Yeah.
Nice.
So I managed to get a copy. I read it around mid 2000s, I think. And in all honesty, this was like when I wanted to get serious in comics.
Yeah,
I was in my teens. I wanted to like venture into this new, I don't know what you call it.
This new world.
Yeah,
this
new
universe.
Yeah,
yes.
This new universe of DC Comics. And when I first read Crisis on Infinite, I kid you not, to be honest, I was just, my head could not manage to contain everything. It was just too much. It was just too much.
The concepts are crazy. It's very otherworldly.
I mean, like when you read the first issue alone, there were just so many different characters introduced left, right, and center.
Just the panel of a different Earth.
It wasn't just the A-list heroes like Superman.
No, it was up to the Z-list.
Exactly. There were heroes I've never even heard of.
Yeah.
So I was actually put off by Crisis when the first time I read it.
Oh.
I did not finish reading the first time I picked it up, to be honest.
So that was your gateway, right? That was the first one you read.
Yeah.
Because you couldn't understand it. Right. That makes sense.
I actually read the subsequent Crisis events after, and then I came back to.
So you read this first. You read the other Crises, and then you went back to it.
Yeah.
So you could appreciate it even more.
Exactly, because it was just too much for me to handle.
Okay.
It was essentially too much for me to handle. So I actually went and read other Crisis events post Crisis of Infinite Earths,
right, okay.
And I came back, and then when I read it again, I was like, "Yep, I totally get why people love this event."
Right. Okay. So here's how it went with me.
Okay.
Right. I started reading comics in about 2005, and the book that I mentioned that really got me into DC is Identity Crisis.
I knew that. I knew it straight away.
Identity Crisis was a kind of like a build up to Infinity Crisis, which is for all intents and purposes the sequel to Crisis on Infinite Earths.
Yeah.
So I read Identity Crisis. I read Infinity Crisis. And I was able to get my hands on some copies of 0 Hour Crisis in Time. But here's the thing. I'd never read Crisis on Infinite Earths at that point. The writing was so standalone, yet connected to Crisis on Infinite Earths, that I got everything I needed to get by reading these books.
Oh.
I didn't read Crisis. And then Final Crisis came out, and I read that, and I absolutely hated Final Crisis.
We'll talk about that.
No, it's a terrible book. Do not defend that. Only after all that, I was able to get a softcover version of Crisis on Infinite Earths, and I read it. And for me, it was like, finally, I read the big book.
Yeah.
And I loved it. I loved it the first time I read it. I knew everything that was going to happen. I knew Barry Allen was going to die. I knew Supergirl was going to die.
Okay.
But having read their resurrection and comeback, reading their original deaths made me so sad.
Oh, dude.
Like, when I read the issue where Supergirl died, because she was gone for the longest time.
Yeah.
I just went, oh, man, like...
And Barry Allen, he didn't come back for like 20 odd years.
Yeah, until Flash Rebirth.
Yeah.
Which, it sold. So when I read it, I go, oh, so this is what the readers felt like.
Yeah.
Because they had read them from the Silver Age, going into the 80s. And I read them from, mid-2000, kind of throwing... So that's the thing about Crisis. It's just such a good reboot for anything you want to read.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So when I read this, it was just before Flashpoint and the New 52. So like I was already saying goodbye to the old world. So it's again, it's so fabled, it's so well written that you could read it at any point. It's not constrained by the era of that time. You could read it in the mid. You could read it soon because the 5th generation of DC is coming up. So for me, when I read it, I just went, "Wow, that's."
So we can get this question out of the way. Your favorite Crisis has to be.
It has to be Identity Crisis. Yeah,
dude.
Is it yours too?
Yeah, it's the same with me.
Nice. We finally agreed on something.
I kind of nailed it down that your favorite Crisis was
Identity Crisis.
Infinite. No.
Oh, you thought it would be Infinite Crisis?
I actually thought it was Infinite Crisis.
Right. Okay. So here's the thing. If Identity Crisis did not have the word crisis at the end, right, it would be the second book I pick up on the plane after Watchmen when I'm jumping off. Because it has the crisis word, you cannot deny that this is part of the Crisis verse. The Crisis is its own verse.
Dude, I had like a whole defense for Identity Crisis.
No, I thought you thought we'd be arguing.
I thought you were going to tore it apart.
No, but
because I love the
Identity Crisis is my favorite, but my favorite crossover event of all time it's Infinite Crisis.
Oh, okay.
Because Identity Crisis opened the door and really set the foundation for 2 years worth of beautiful storytelling.
It led up to 52. It led up
everything.
to
Blackest
Night.
Yeah, it led up to
Brightest Day.
Yeah.
There was so many things that
it was an amazing book, and it is an amazing book, and it definitely is my favorite Crisis.
Yeah.
But if you had to rank your top 3 Crises, because we should outline for the audiences at home the different Crises that have happened. The first one, the granddaddy of all, is Crisis on Infinite Earths, 1985. Marv Wolfman and George Perez.
Yep.
Timeless book. Everybody should read it. The second one, chronologically, is Zero Hour, Crisis in Time.
Yeah.
Hal Jordan, the Green Lantern, became evil, became Parallax.
Became Parallax.
And before there was the whole Jeff Johns reboot of the entire thing, he had the ability to take control of time and space.
Yeah. Essentially, like in a nutshell, that's what he did.
And then the third Crisis would be Identity Crisis, which led up to the fourth Crisis, but second large multiversal crisis, which is Infinite Crisis.
Yeah, Infinite Crisis.
After that, there was the Dead on Arrival Final Crisis, because it only had the name Final Crisis, but it had no business being a crisis event.
No, it was. I love Grant Morrison. You know how much I love Grant Morrison.
You do love
Grant Morrison. But
Grant
Final Crisis was a headache.
It was atrocious.
It was a pain.
Yes, and I've read all the countdowns. That's the sad part. I've read all the countdowns, all the times, and it's bad. It's objectively not my cup of tea.
No.
After Final Crisis, the next crisis spiritually is Flashpoint.
Yep, it is.
Because it did what
if there's one thing that Final Crisis did, that it brought back Barry Allen. That's the one good thing that came out of Final Crisis, that it brought back Barry Allen, who was gone from the face of the DC universe
for about 15, 16, 24 years.
23, 24 years. 20 odd years, dude.
Yeah.
And everyone who grew up loving The Flash knew Wally West as their Flash.
Yeah, so they didn't really know who Barry Allen was. Barry Allen is my Flash.
Yeah, Barry Allen's my Flash too. But what Final Crisis did, it brought back Barry Allen.
It did.
Back into the current post-crisis DC universe.
Post-third crisis.
Yeah.
So Final Crisis would be the third official crisis.
Yeah.
A spiritual crisis would be...
I hope the audience at home are following us so far.
You guys can ask those questions and we'll answer it in the comments section.
Yeah.
Another spiritual successor to the Crisis mantle was Flashpoint.
Yeah.
So Flashpoint is meant to be, again, it did what it's supposed to do.
Yeah.
Which is reboot into the New 52.
Yeah, it created the New 52.
And then the New 52 had 2 crises. This is getting confusing.
Yeah.
Because of, I'm guessing, internal politics.
Yeah.
There was an event called Convergence.
Oh my god.
Yeah. Convergence was when Brainiac, the Superman villain, went across the multiverse collecting different Earths for a grand gladiator showdown.
I hated Convergence.
Yeah. Jeff Johns, my favorite DC Comics writer ever, wrote his version of a crisis in what was called the Dark Side War, where he took the villain from the Crisis stories, Anti-Monitor, pit him against Darkseid, and reboot into the DC universe, the rebirth, the 2016's rebirth.
Yeah.
Since then, there's been one more crisis. Yes, it's getting confusing, and I think this is the weakest crisis of all. Heroes in Crisis. It's written by Tom King, beautifully drawn by Clayman, but it's a nightmare to read.
I love Tom King's run in his Batman.
Do you though?
It's pretty good. It's solid.
I
hate
his Batman stuff.
He's not the best Batman writer out there, but
no.
It has its moments. But with Heroes in Crisis,
he dropped the ball.
Oh my god, Heroes in Crisis.
So as you guys can keep up, there's been the 3 main crises, which is Crisis on Infinite Earths, Infinite Crisis, and Final Crisis. Then there was Crisis in Time, 0 Hour.
Yeah.
Then there was the smaller crises, which is Flashpoint, Convergence, and Dark Side War, and Heroes in Crisis. So there's been 8 crises so far.
Yeah.
What is your top 3?
Number 3, Crisis on Infinite Earths.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
Number 3, Crisis on Infinite Earths. Not because it's weak in any way. It's just, for me, when I first read it, was just too daunting.
Yeah.
It was just a headache for me to read.
I can agree with you on that.
But it had such a great impact to the DC Comics we read today.
Yes. I'm with you on that.
Yeah, with number 2, Infinite Crisis.
Same. Wow.
Infinite Crisis.
And we have the same top 3?
So your number 1 is Identity Crisis as well.
Yeah, nice. Wow, we're really agreeing on this episode.
But because Infinite Crisis was just... It's
beautiful.
It's beautiful, dude.
I can describe it any other way. It is a beautiful story.
You have the omnibus.
I do have the omnibus. It's 1,000 pages plus. And I've only read it once because it's so good.
It ties in everything. But for me, Identity Crisis.
Yeah,
It's
no,
just
Identity
the best-
Crisis. It's a standalone story.
It's the best
6
Crisis.
or 7
It
issues.
was so heartbreaking.
It was so personal too.
Dude,
Yeah,
I'm not saying I cried. I'm not saying I cried,
but you know, you're not saying your eyes were dry either.
dude, it was just. It just shocked me to my
Yeah,
to my very
it
bones,
really
dude.
did. It was beautiful writing by Brad Meltzer, who also wrote The Tornado's Path and Lightning Saga.
Yeah, and that's the thing.
beautiful
He's not
books.
exactly a comic book writer.
No, he's a New York Times best-selling author.
Yeah,
He writes fiction novels.
exactly. And
Yeah.
but the way he wrote Identity Crisis was just so beautiful.
It's a masterclass in short-form storytelling.
Yeah.
Personally for me. Right, so we got that out of the way, and you know, again, this book is in the center because the CW Arrowverse, again, made up of Arrow, Flash, Legends of Tomorrow, Supergirl, and Batwoman,
Yep.
is undergoing its own crossover, and it's been teased from essentially the first episode of the Flash TV show.
First episode, literally, of the first
Because
season.
it ended with a cliffhanger that showed a newspaper article from the future, and it said, Flash missing, vanishes in crisis, or something like that.
Yeah.
So the Flash TV show has been working towards this from the beginning.
And finally, it's coming.
It's happening.
Yeah, it's
It
happening.
happened.
It's
The
on our
first
screens.
half happened.
Yeah, 3 episodes are in this week, and
Yeah.
the latter 2 will come out
in January, which would be Arrow and Legends of Tomorrow.
Yeah.
So let's talk about this. They've been building this up since Flash Season 1.
Yeah, it has. And personally, for me, when I saw Flash Season 1, I mean, I've started watching the CW Arrowverse since Arrow Season 1.
Man, I had to take a break.
No, I saw the first few episodes and I wasn't sold.
Same.
I left the first whole season, but I came back when I heard Season 2 was really good.
And Deathstroke was the main villain.
Oh, dude,
Those 2 seasons.
Season 2 of Arrow was one of the best the CW has ever made.
Absolutely, I agree
Going
with
back
that.
to Crisis, in Season 2, that's when we were introduced to Barry Allen of the CW.
Yes, that was a better
Arrowverse.
pilot for
Yeah,
Flash.
it was like episode 7 or 8 of Arrow.
I think it was 8.
Yeah. So what's it called? The Scientist, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely called The Scientist. But yeah, it spawned the Flash TV series starring Grant Gustin.
And that first season is amazing, to be honest.
Flash Season 1 is one of the we talked about it at length for that whole
We
year.
did, yes.
When that
It
season
really
came
was
out.
something else.
It was one of the best writing the CW, and I'm not a huge fan of the CW.
I'm not too.
But the Flash Season 1 is one of the best.
That really was the
Seasons
golden
ever.
age of primetime television.
It was.
With primetime superhero television. Because you had Arrow and Flash bouncing off each other so well. And it's a shame because everything went downhill after that.
No, I think the CW just grew in ambition and spawned off Legends of Tomorrow and now Batwoman, Black Lightning, Supergirl.
Yeah.
Granted, I love Legends of Tomorrow Season 1 aside. It's horrible, but Season 2 onwards, it's one of
You're a fan, I'm not.
I love it's like my own little Doctor Who alternative.
Yes.
But going back again to The Flash, I mean, Season 1 was one and it was amazing, but again, it just gradually declined in quality.
It really did. And I think the problem with that was that with Season 2, they had, I believe it was Zoom.
Oh, it was Zoom.
The villain, who was a bit weak, and then they had Savitar in Season 3.
Oh,
and I stopped watching the show. I just couldn't
I
anymore.
actually tolerated Season 4 when they introduced the Tinkerer.
Oh, yeah.
But again, it was just, no.
No.
It just, from Season 1, it just went downhill.
It's going to die a slow death.
Yeah.
But Season 1, like you said, the reason why it works so well is because the emotions in the show.
Yeah.
You know, it was about Barry figuring out who he was and coming to terms with the death of his mother.
Yeah.
And the acting is also very good.
Dude.
He's that's very touchy-feely with himself.
But when the DCTV Arrowverse started, it was just Arrow and the Flash.
Yeah.
And that's when it spawned its first crossover.
Yeah.
Flash versus the Arrow.
Yes.
Sorry, the Flash versus Arrow. And ever since then, annually there's been crossover after crossover.
There has been.
With the introduction of Vandal Savage and Legends of Tomorrow, and then we had the Invasion crossover.
There was also the
Crisis on Earth X.
Crisis on Earth X, yes.
Which is, to me personally, my favorite. Crisis.
That was very good.
Yeah.
That was
and then
very
there was Elseworlds, and coming back to this year,
Crisis on Infinite Earths. Yeah.
And I have to say,
the build-up
was
insane because they announced it last year with Crisis
with
Elseworlds.
Yeah.
And you knew it was coming anyway from the Season 1 of The Flash.
Yeah.
And then it really kicked into overdrive, I think, around San Diego Comic-Con this year. Because, you know, the reports started coming out that Burt Ward, the 60s Robin, would be reprising his role as Dick Grayson. You had rumors that Linda Carter would be there as Wonder Woman, but we've, spoiler alert, have not seen her yet.
Not yet.
There was rumors of Kevin Conroy coming as Bruce Wayne, and he's there
in his first live action role
as Bruce Wayne.
And
he's there.
And we have Smallville cameos from both Tom Welling
and Erica Durance as Clark Kent and Lois Lane. And it just went into overdrive. But I think the biggest news for me, and you're wearing that shirt right now, is Brandon Routh coming back as Superman. Because he was already a series regular on Arrow.
Yep. Playing Ray Palmer, or better known as the Atom on Legends of Tomorrow.
And for him to come back as Superman, immediately I go, I've not seen this guy as Superman in about 14 years.
Yep.
13 to 14. Because Superman returns.
2006, yeah.
And they said he would be playing an older Kingdom Come Superman.
Yep.
And I thought,
Kingdom Come.
Yeah, Alex Ross Marquardt, beautiful book.
Beautiful book.
So when they announced that, I just went, they really are pulling out all the stops on this.
Yeah, they're going all out with the Crisis on Infinite Earths.
They really are. And like for me, I think what really sold it to me was when they got Tom Welling, after a lot of rumors, they got Tom Welling on. And there were also smaller confirms, like the gentleman who played Knox in Batman '89, Huntress from the 2003 Birds of Prey
TV series.
So there was a lot of like confirmations going on, and I thought this looks to be huge.
Yeah.
They're pulling on all the stops.
They were going all out.
And then they showed that picture of Brandon Routh as Kingdom Come Superman, with his gray temples, and he's huge.
Yeah, he literally went out, and Brandon Routh actually went out and
started
out
pumping up. Yeah, and he looked amazing as Superman.
He looked so much better as a seasoned Kingdom Come Superman.
Yeah. So now we have to talk about the show. All right, so let's get into it. We've been waiting since Flash season 1. We've been seeing these crossovers for like 5 years now.
Yep.
The cast is insane. They've basically covered the entire history of DC Comics on television.
Yeah.
And we are, I think, 3 parts into a 5-part story?
3 parts into a 5-part story, which will continue next year.
Yeah. So the only question left to ask is, what do we think? And I'm going to start with you.
To sum it up in one word, disappointed.
Oof.
I'm sorry. Leading up to this crossover, I was just so eager to get into it. Like, I didn't watch Elseworlds until a few weeks ago.
Yeah, because you were saving it.
Yeah. And when I watched Crisis on Infinite Earths, the first episode was just, it blew me away because they literally took the pages out of
the comics. Book, yeah.
And when they, showcased all the different Earths and all these characters and all the cameos, as the story went on, my excitement just died. It just died.
Yeah. And, people will say, like, why didn't you manage your expectations? But you can't. You can't look at an article that says Tom Welling to return as Clark Kent and not get excited.
A lot of these cameos were just glorified cameos.
Yeah.
They were just literally reeling in on
like a 5-second scene.
Yeah, on this like this nostalgic factor.
Yeah, which is our downfall because we got so nostalgic.
Yeah,
like I saw pictures of Burt Ward as Robin, Dick Grayson, and I go, oh wow, like I can't believe I'm going to see him on screen again. And like you said, it's just all fluff.
3 episodes in, there were some high points. There were definitely some high points.
Brandon Routh as Superman
is one of the highlights, but also one of the major sticking point for me.
Why is that?
Okay, look, Brandon Routh as Superman in Superman Returns was okay.
Yeah.
He was alright. He didn't do anything bad, but he didn't do anything great. He literally recreated the late Christopher Reeve's
Richard Donner Superman
portrayal as, in Richard Donner Superman.
Yeah.
But okay, so him in Kingdom Come Superman, he just went back into the role naturally. Like it was it was his own this whole time.
Yeah, and he did a great job at it.
But the problem is that they made Superman Returns canon.
Yeah, and that's what blows me away because I always knew that.
I knew that Superman Returns was a sequel to Richard Donner Superman.
Yeah, but you didn't know that this Brandon Routh Superman.
I did not know that this Brandon Routh Superman was
that Superman.
Was the same Superman.
Oh man, dude.
I did not know that at all, and the fact that they did that
peeved you off.
Yeah.
I knew that. I knew the moment they announced Brandon Routh as Superman.
There's nothing against Brandon Routh Superman.
No, of course not. No.
It's Bryan Singer's Superman Returns.
Yeah. So the moment they announced him as Superman, I immediately assumed this was the sequel to Superman Returns we never got.
Oh.
I knew this would be the last chapter of that Christopher Reeve Superman. Yeah, you didn't.
No, and that's the thing. Like I didn't. But
oh man,
for me personally, this is not how I envisioned
it ending.
Yeah. Christopher Reeve Superman ending up this way?
Yeah.
Oh, dude.
Yeah, it really took away a lot of the optimism.
Exactly. It's just, Richard Donner's Christopher Reeve, Margot Kidder, Superman is one of the best superhero films of all time.
Absolutely, it's one of my favorites.
And the fact that they're ending it
like
giving this like some kind of conclusion to that version of that
via
Superman,
a TV show.
It's just like they're really taking the piss.
Yeah. So like you said, there's been a lot of cameos. But can we talk about the lack of story here?
The writing is just lazy writing for me, in my opinion.
It's so sad. I really wanted to like this crossover.
I was most hyped for Kevin Conroy.
Oh my god! So Kevin Conroy, the definitive Batman voice ever
Since the Batman animated series came out in the mid-90s,
appears as Bruce Wayne for the first time
in live action.
Yeah, and has an exoskeleton, like in the Kingdom Come comic.
Shares the screen with Ruby Rose of all people. Oh my god!
My biggest problem is that he died via an electric shock.
It was just so pitiful.
It's so
really
bad.
That's how Bruce Wayne goes?
It's so bad. So okay, let's go episode by episode. Episode 1, Supergirl. We see Tyler Hoechlin. He's a good-looking man as Superman.
Yeah.
That's also the episode that we're introduced to Tom Welling.
Yeah, it was.
Right?
Yep.
In a glorified cameo for not more than 3 minutes. He's on the Kent farm.
And again, he shares with a very annoying
Lex Luthor.
John Cryer as Lex Luthor.
Bad as Lex
Granted, when I watched the CW Arrowverse, I watched The Flash, Arrow, and Legends of Tomorrow, nothing else. I had never watched Supergirl other than the crossover episodes.
Yeah.
So when I first saw, that was my first
exposure experience.
With John Crye's Lex Luthor,
Yeah.
and he was just so. I don't know who's worse, Jesse Eisenberg or John Cryer.
He was bad. So his Lex Luthor gets the Book of Destiny from the Monitor, and the Monitor is trying to stop people from dying. His motivation
testing this universe.
Do we want to get into the details of the plot?
Let's just skip that.
Look, I'll summarize it. Monitor, good guy. Flash and Arrow, good guy. Monitor say, you good people, save the world. And then Monitor has Magic Book. Magic Book brings...
Are you worthy?
Unspecified power to whoever has Magic Book.
Yeah.
Evil Lex Luthor gets Magic Book, decides he wants to destroy all versions of Superman.
From across the whole multiverse.
Tyler Hoechlin, Superman, good guy, decides he wants to save all the other Superman. So Lex Luthor meets Tom Welling, who is a version of Superman, who's not wearing a suit, who's in a basically t-shirt. He disappears. So Tyler Hoechlin comes up and goes, hey bro, what's up? And then the other guy's like, hey bro, what's up? And then that's it. That's the end of Tom Welling's cameo. Tyler Hoechlin goes to another Earth where he meets Brendan Routh's Superman, who's the Superman Returns Superman.
And gets brainwashed by Lex
Luthor. They fight. Brendan Routh looks like a god. Wearing at least he's basically Zeus. He looks amazing.
Yeah, he does.
And then etc. etc. Bad people will always die. Good people will sacrifice themselves. Arrow dies. And then episode 2, it's a Batwoman episode. But
then Arrow comes back.
Arrow comes back in the Lazarus Pit in a different point in time.
Yeah, Kara Danvers and
Kate
Kane travel
to a
different universe
and they see Kevin Conroy, who tells them that Superman bad. I had kryptonite. I killed him.
Yeah.
And then Batman dies via electric shock. I can't say this seriously. It's so bad. And then episode 3 is the Flash episode where we're introduced to John Wesley Shipp's Flash.
Yeah. From Earth 90.
From Earth 1990s Flash.
Yeah.
Who dies running too fast.
Yeah.
Essentially. It's just so...
And that's the thing. Like, they've been teasing about this Flash vanishing during the crisis.
My God.
And they pull you under the rug. And they have John Wesley's ship die instead.
I think they really were depending on the cameos to sell the show.
They even had like a short scene of John Wesley's ship
from the 90s.
From the 90s TV series. And
I think that's the problem. They were really hoping the cameos would be clouding our judgment.
They were just selling the nostalgic factor too much. It was
And Brendan Routh's Superman is one of the 7 paragons that will help. This is a new concept, right?
Dude, the whole paragon thing, I was like...
So there are basically 7 characters, people who can save the universe.
Yeah, there's love, humanity, truth,
hope,
courage, love.
So Brendan Routh's Superman was one of them.
Truth.
Towards the end of the last episode, the 7 paragons were transported away from the ship that the Anti-Monitor was trying to destroy. Anti-Monitor is evil twin of Monitor.
Yeah.
So the 7 of them got transported, and then Brendan Routh's Superman naturally looked like he was going to be the leader.
Yeah.
And I call this the Ryan Johnson. Just when he's about to assume the role, they pull a Last Jedi on us, and he dies, and Lex Luthor takes his place. And it's just...
Through some form of magic.
Magic book.
Yeah, I mean like the Book of Destiny, but
What?
a page, just a page.
What
of the Book of
is
Destiny.
this? What are they trying to do, man? Like, they have 2 episodes left. If they don't salvage this will be the most disappointed I've been.
At this point, I don't know what to expect in the last 2 episodes.
No, I don't care.
You know what they're replicating? It's Infinity War, the ending of Infinity War.
Yeah,
right?
like, subverting your expectations.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like instead of having like half the universe gone, it's literally just 7 heroes left.
Yeah.
Well, 6 heroes including and Lex Luthor.
Yes. So I think what I'm trying to ask is, has this been worth the wait for you? It's not.
It's not.
I'm really mixed on this. I'm gonna watch them again.
Granted, I'm gonna still watch the 2 remaining episodes.
Yeah.
But it's a definitive no as to whether this crossover is worth it, because it's been disappointing in so many ways.
Yeah.
It just kind of outweighs all the good stuff that's happened in the last 3 episodes of Crisis of Infinite Earths.
Personally, for me, I'm probably gonna watch them again because I've only seen them once.
I've seen it thrice.
Yeah, I'm gonna watch them again just to see if I truly missed it or anything. But
Dude,
I don't see myself singing
You
praises
have
for
not. I've seen it 3 times already, trying to convince myself that I may have not. There has to be something that I missed.
it. Yeah,
but watching it 3 times, I still
it's
get
just
the same.
because I think you just can't believe it,
frustrated.
right? Like, it's just like, oh, I can't believe it's
Really?
this bad.
This whole crossover is named after one of the biggest
Yeah,
comic events
Ever.
in comic book history.
yeah.
And this is what they've done with it so far.
Yeah.
It's-
So if you put it that way, then I don't think I'll be rewatching it anytime soon. So personally, for me, for the audiences at home who've been excited for Crisis, if you're just looking for something brain dead and, as I said, good guy, bad guy, good guy, it's so, I don't even want to get into the plot at this point. It's
just
a
lazy
bit
writing.
dejecting. I feel dejected, honestly. But yeah, if you want to check out an actual Crisis, please check out the Crisis on Infinity Earth storyline. It's an amazing book, and if you're too lazy to read, you can always watch Flashpoint, the animated film.
Yeah. Flashpoint Paradox. Yeah.
Which gives you like a world reboot anyway. Would we want to rate Crisis on Infinite Earth?
Well, let's rate it out of 15. Let's use my.
No, you rate it out of 15. I'm rating it out of 10.
Okay, fine.
I will give it 5 out of 10.
5 out of 10.
5 out of 10 for me. I'm only giving it for the cameos.
I give it 4 out of 15.
4 out of 15.
That's how bad it is.
So out of 10, that is a...
That's how, I don't know.
Somebody do the math.
1 point something?
Yeah, so yeah, it is.
It's 4 out of 15 for me. That's how bad it is.
It's disappointing.
It's the weakest crossover yet.
Yeah, I think they really hit their stride with Elseworlds last year.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's it from us. Thank you for watching this episode where we talked about comic books. We'll be obviously talking more about comic books, Batman, Superman,
definitely.
history maybe. Tell us what you guys want to know. Say something in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe.
Yeah, probably give us your preference. Which is your favorite DCTV crossover?
Yeah,
mine was Crisis on Earth X, by the way.
Crisis on Earth X is definitely
one
up
of the
there.
best.
Yeah,
but please comment on the comment section. Tell us which ones you like,
and we will probably see you in another episode of Popcorn Culture next week. Thank you for watching, guys.
See ya.